UNLV falls to the University of Wyoming on the road in Laramie with a final score of 98 to 66. This was, without a doubt, one of the worst performances in the history of UNLV basketball. I'll break it down for you. Let's talk about it. This is the Let's Run podcast. Everybody, welcome to the show today. Grateful to have you. Grateful to be talking to you live after watching what was not a fun game as UNLV went up to Laramie and got splattered by the Cowboys. KenPom had this game as an 85-77 victory for Wyoming going in. So UNLV loses to Wyoming and is just going to get barbecued in the KenPom rankings. They're down to 150 in the KenPom rankings. In all of my time talking about UNLV, I don't want to say covering UNLV because I've only been doing that for a couple of years now. But in all the time that I've watched the Rebels, this has been, I would say, the third. Tonight was probably the third worst loss I can remember in my time talking about the Rebels. A little bit of context. I mean, there have been some really bad losses, but this one felt really disheartening. UNLV obviously opened up Mountain West play at 2-0 after beating Fresno State and Air Force at home. So this game against Wyoming was really UNLV's first test in Mountain West play. They had talked about, after a really rough kind of up and down non-conference, basically kind of wiping the slate clean and having the Rebels kind of start over during conference play. And that's the right approach. I mean, UNLV struggled a lot in the non-conference. And so, after those first two opening games, UNLV won. I thought both of those performances were fine. They go up and play what is, by all accounts, a pretty okay Wyoming team. Wyoming is fine. I mean, if you look at their season so far, their losses are pretty reasonable. I mean, they had a kind of a dumb loss to Sam Houston State, and they had a pretty bad home loss to Grand Canyon to open up Mountain West play. But by all accounts, Wyoming this is one of the better Wyoming teams that I can remember. I don't want to act like this is some terrible Wyoming team. They're fine. I mean, they're not great, but they're certainly adequate. And this loss isn't as bad as, for example, when Air Force came into the Thomas and Mack and beat UNLV by, I don't even remember how much it was by. How much was it by? I can tell you. UNLV lost to Air Force at home. What was it? Was it 2023 that happened? It might have been 2024, actually. They lost 90 to 58 against Air Force. I mean, that is probably the worst performance that I can remember as a run and Rebel fan. But this one, Wyoming's a program that, we have lost to them obviously, but Wyoming's usually a program that we've done pretty well against. Wyoming had never beaten UNLV by more than 11 points. UNLV has historically performed very well against the Wyoming Cowboys. And tonight everything just kind of fell apart. And I'm going to break it down for you as to why. And so, to start out the season, there's going to be some talk from Coach Passner about how, tonight was an embarrassment and this has to be a turning point for our guys. And, this team lost on its home court when they were rededicating it to Lois Tarkanian, to UT Martin to open the season. They gave up 103 points to the University of Montana. Neither of those teams are any good. They lost to a terrible Tennessee State team. So this is not the team's, first sign of being a bad team. This team has been pretty bad for a lot of this season. And outside of, a couple of decent performances against Stanford and Memphis, this team has really struggled. And early on in the season, I don't think opposing teams realized just how bad the shooting was on this run and Rebel team. Just for reference, UNLV is shooting as a team on the season. They're shooting 29% from the 3-point line, good for 324th. For reference, there are only 365 NCAA basketball teams. So UNLV is one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country. They also really don't have a lot of ball handling. They're having Dre Gibbs Lawhorn play point guard, and again, he's not a point guard. He never has been. I really like Dre, but he's a two guard, man. He's not a point guard. And Isaac Williamson, who has been, outside of that game again versus Memphis, Isaac Williamson has really, really, really struggled his freshman season, and that's not to be unexpected. I mean, Isaac, you wouldn't expect a freshman to come in and just be a dominant player right away. But Isaac Williamson has really struggled as a point guard. Howie Fleming has been just putrid in terms of being a point guard, as a pick and roll ball handler. He has been really, really, really bad at that. And so this team just doesn't really have a guard. I mean, the only guard they have is Dre, and Dre's a two guard. So they have one two guard. And then everything else in terms of ball handling, this team is pretty inept. And it's put the Rebels in just a brutal position. I mean, Al Green, who's a senior, who should be a shooter, who should be a player that can contribute, can't get on the floor. Nas Cunningham, who's a freshman, who's a guard, can't really get on the floor. Walter Brown, he can't play guard. He's more of a forward. This team just doesn't have ball handling. And at the same time, they also don't really have shooting. They have Dre, who tonight was 2 of 4 from 3. UNLV actually had their best 3-point shooting. Believe it or not, tonight was actually one of, percentage-wise, UNLV's perhaps their best 3-point shooting game of the season. UNLV was 5 of 11 from 3. But the problem is they were turning the ball over a ton. I mean, UNLV finished this game with it's actually interesting that UNLV only finished this game with 12 turnovers. I find that fascinating because it felt like a lot more than that. They fouled a decent amount. UNLV, here's another thing. UNLV shot 45 free throws in this game. And I guess let me just put up the stats here. I'll put up some comments here first before we get into the stats. Daryl says we do not have the players. This is the first time I've seen UNLV get blown out bad. Yeah, this is their first true in terms of playing. They did get blown out versus Alabama, and they kind of ended up getting blown out versus Rutgers. But yeah, this is the first time they've been blown out like this against a team like this. Really bad. My mom, hey mom, this is devastating. I totally agree. UNLV did shoot indeed. UNLV missed 20 free throws tonight. They shot 25 of 45 from the free throw line. That's just absolutely unacceptable. And yeah, I mean, credit to Wyoming. They played well. I don't really have any interest in acting like this result is because Wyoming had some outlier shooting game or some outlier offensive performance. Ultimately, UNLV's guards were getting cooked off the dribble. They were allowing dribble penetration, which led to wide open 3-pointers and wide open and nearly wide open layups. And so, yeah, Wyoming played out of their mind. You give them credit. I'll let them talk about how great they were. I want to talk about the Rebels. I'm at a loss for words. What a horrible display on the court tonight. I totally agree, Martin. Where do the coaches and players go from here? I would not even play man defense against this current Rebel team. You do not have to. You do not have to play man defense against this Rebel team. All you really have to do is play a 3-2 or a 2-3 zone against the Rebels and just lock out the paint and just say outside of the paint, you guys aren't getting any shots outside the paint, inside the paint. And you can do basically anything you want outside the paint. And you're going to stop this UNLV team from scoring. Stefan played 11 minutes, grabbed 4 rebounds, and fouled out. Yeah, Emmanuel Stefan is not playing well right now, and which is really disheartening because of how well he played in that opening game against Stanford. Emmanuel Stefan did not, it's just the past ever since that game against Stanford. He played really well in his first game ever, and he's been, you wonder why he's gotten benched. Well, you're seeing it. He's not playing well. He's not playing in control. He's not playing collected. He's not playing with physicality. He's not rebounding very well. He can't shoot. He can't score. He can't hit layups. I mean, it's been terrible. Are you confident the Rebels have something optimistic about going into the New Mountain West? Just feels like they hired the wrong guy again, which could mean a few more years of bad play. Yeah, I mean, listen, I know there's probably going to be some people tonight, and this is Brandon Clark. I appreciate you, Brandon. Braden, sorry. Braden, my bad. And I hated the Pastner hire. I thought it was a really bad hire. I thought it was a budget hire by a guy that just has shown that he can't do it. He's got all the right intentions, says all the right things, but at the same time, like, this university wasted millions and millions and millions of dollars firing Kevin Kruger. This university is spending every dollar that it can on football, and UNLV is going to be spending all of their money on football. They're not going to, if you're coming here hoping that UNLV is going to fire Josh Pastner after a terrible season this year, which it looks like we're going to be in store for, you're going to be sorely mistaken. This university is not spending another dime on basketball. The university itself, now I think that there has been some pretty good grassroots funding by boosters and by fans to try and get Rebel basketball some players. But in terms of from the university, this university is trying to make it so basketball just isn't a sore spot. And they're failing spectacularly at that. So do I feel confident or optimistic about the Rebels going into the new Mountain West? No, I really don't. Um, but at the same time, like, I don't really have an option to be like, because Josh Pastner is going to be our coach for the next 3 or 4 years. Like, I don't really have an option to be scorched earth about it. Um, I think he did a bad job constructing a roster this season. I think he's done a bad job getting his guys to play fundamentally sound basketball, to play with toughness, to play with aggression, the things that he preaches, the things that I know he knows are what he needs to do. I think he's just done a bad job. But that doesn't mean he's going anywhere. And do I have confidence in him? I mean, nothing that he's shown me so far has given me any reason to have confidence in him. And but at the same time, I don't really have another choice. Like, what else am I supposed to do? They're not firing him. The program's just not the priority of the school anymore. And so Coach Pastner is our guy for the next few years, and I'm going to try and support him. At the same time, I'm going to be honest about what I'm seeing, and he has not given me any reason for optimism yet. I'll say that. We're a football school now. That's the way it is. Martin says, "Have you reached out to Pastner to see about getting another interview? I'd be so curious to see about what he has to say about why this team is not playing well together." So, Coach Pastner and I have done 2 interviews together. And I think I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. I think he probably would come on the show if I asked him again. I really like Josh. Josh is a really good guy. Again, he says all the right things, and he's fun to talk to, and he's easy to talk to. And I think, the reason why I haven't had him on is just because I haven't asked. I mean, I haven't asked, and maybe I would ask again for him to come on the show, and he would say no, or he wouldn't say anything at all. Maybe he would ignore me. I don't think he would. I think he probably would come on. That's just how he is. He doesn't run away from stuff like this. Um, I think he would have no problem coming on and facing hard questions. But I don't want to publicly, to his face, grill the UNLV coach. I don't know that I want to be in that role. And if I talk to Josh, that's what I'd have to do. And I don't want to put him in that position, and I don't want to be in that position. Maybe I should. I mean, maybe I should ask him, but I'm not a paid media member. He has no obligation to talk to me, and I would feel bad calling him on and being like, "Coach, you preach toughness, you preach energy, you preach dive, you preach, dive for loose balls. Why is your team not doing that? What's wrong with your performance as the head coach as to why your players aren't achieving the goals that you set forth before the start of the season? Do you really want to see me do that to him?" And I guess, like, I'm not getting paid for this, man. I don't know that I want to do that to him. Because I like Josh. Again, I really do. And I want Josh to succeed. And he has no response. There's nothing Josh can say to excuse how this season has gone. There's nothing he can say. You start out the season losing to UT Martin on the night that you're rededicating the Jerry Tarkanian court for Lois Tarkanian. That's unforgivable. Then you give 103 points to Montana. That's unforgivable. You lose to Tennessee State. That's unforgivable. Your team craters offensively, which is kind of what's happened recently. And one player going out, Miles Che. And look, the team has dealt with a ton of injuries, but the injuries are excuses to a point. You're not playing with consistently high effort. You're not playing with attention to detail. Your guys are not playing harder than the other team. Your guys are not you guys just aren't playing well, and they're not playing hard, and they're not playing with toughness. There's nothing Josh Pastner can say that will make any of us feel any better. There's nothing he can say. Nothing. In fact, there's nothing he can do short of winning the Mountain West tournament. Really. I mean, short of all of a sudden going on a crazy run and coming in top 3 in the Mountain West and winning the Mountain West tournament, there's nothing Josh can do. Going out and beating Colorado State on Saturday, would that feel good? Would I enjoy it? Would I cheer for it? Yeah, I really would. But that wouldn't change anything. Going and getting a good win doesn't change what this program is right now. The only thing that can change that is high level, consistent effort, defensive intensity, toughness, balanced rosters. This roster is poorly constructed. And I get it. They're dealing with injuries. I get it. Miles Che would be a huge help to this team. But if one guard going out, and look, I get it. He's a really important guard. He might be one of the highest paid players on the team. So we might have spent a lot of resources on him. But if one guard going out makes it so that you can't dribble the ball against a half court defense, makes it so that you can't shoot the ball, makes it so that your team doesn't play. If the Miles Che injury is the reason why your team is playing like this, that's not a good enough excuse. There was no excuse to losing to UT Martin. There was no excuse to losing to Montana. There was no excuse to losing to Tennessee State. And if he only had one performance, there was no excuse for getting blown out. Losing in Laramie, that happens, man. There was no excuse to getting blown out like this. There just wasn't. There's nothing Josh Pastner can say to make anybody feel any better. And there's nothing he can do short of making it top 5 in the Mountain West and making the NCAA tournament. Those are the only things he can do. There's nothing else he can do. And is a team that just got blown out by Wyoming really going to do that? It's hard to say that they can. They won't. I mean, it's hard to say that they're even capable of it. And so, yeah, it feels like we're cursed, man. Like it does. UNLV has botched the basketball program for 12 years running now. They just have. Miles is done for the whole season, Martin. Miles is done and so is Laji Dembele. They're done for the whole year. And so I guess let's break down the stats. We can talk about it a little bit individually about this game. I mean, there's nothing really to say. The Rebels just got outplayed in every facet of the game. We were led in scoring. I didn't even know. We were led in scoring. I guess Kamani had 19 points. He finishes with 19 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 5 turnovers. Good job, Kamani. 1 steal and 3 personal fouls. Okay, I thought Kamani played out of control, didn't finish well, and didn't play within the offense very well. I didn't think Kamani had a good game. Tyron Jones had 16 points, 5 of 12 from 2, 0 for 1 for 3, 6 of 10 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks, 3 steals. I really like Tyron. I think he's the one, shining bright spot from this season. I think Tyron's awesome. Whether we can retain Tyron at the end of the season, I guess we'll see. But Tyron, I thought, was fine tonight. He plays really hard. He was really inefficient tonight, but you would expect that from freshmen. And then you look down at the rest of the roster, and it's like Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. My apologies. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, 10 points. Not enough shot attempts. I mean, Dre only shot 7 times. He had 2 turnovers, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. How is Dre only getting that many shot attempts? Howie Fleming, I thought was terrible. I mean, his stats aren't awful. 8 points. He made his only 3, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. But I thought Howie, mucked the plays up, was slow, didn't make good decisions on offense. I thought Jacob Benarby had a terrible game. He had 4 points, 1 of 2, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. 1 rebound for Jacob Benarby. That's just unacceptable. I thought defensively he was slow. Isaac Williamson had his worst game of the season. He finishes with 9 points, 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 1 of 2 from 3, 1 of 4 from 2. Walter Brown played terrible. I mean, Emmanuel Steffen, who, again, after that Stanford game, I thought we really had something with him. He was just unbelievably bad. He only had one shot attempt. He was 0-4 from the free throw line, had 4 rebounds. And there you go. I mean, the Rebels missed 20 free throws. They got out rebounded. The Rebels got out rebounded 41 to 29. 41 to 29. The Rebels allowed Wyoming to shoot 61% from the 2-point line, just about 43% from the 3-point line. Wyoming was really hot early. A lot of that was due to the Rebels just not playing defense and giving wide open lanes to the rim and allowing college basketball players wide open shots from the 3-point line. Wyoming had 16 assists to 14 turnovers. UNLV had 5 assists to 12 turnovers. They were not playing together as a team at all. They don't seem to know where to stand when they're playing together, how to move the ball around efficiently. And again, you can blame that on injuries all you want, but injuries are not an excuse to get blown out like this. They're just not. And I get that, Wyoming scored 1.36 points per possession. That is horrendous. Horrendous. So, look, I mean, knowing the Rebels, they could go on the road and take down Colorado State on Saturday. And wow, that'd be a lot of fun. I would love that. That'd be great. But what would it mean without consistent effort and consistent play? I just want to see this team play consistently hard, play under control, to have a system. And I think this is the biggest criticism that you can make of Josh, is that he doesn't really seem to have an identity as a coach. He's always trying 10 different things at once. If something goes wrong one game, there's a huge hole in the boat and the boat is sinking. He tries a billion different things to fix it instead of just having one overriding philosophy that guides his team. And I think that is a criticism of Josh that has followed him throughout his entire career. And I think it leads to unfocused and undisciplined play when guys do not have that baseline, that permanent theology undergirding everything that they do on the basketball court. Because these guys don't have an identity. And I'm just bummed out, guys. I'm really bummed out. We have a long season ahead of us. There's a lot more games coming. This is only the 3rd Mountain West game. Rebels are playing Colorado State on Friday. So it's a brutal road trip. The Rebels I don't even know I hope they're not coming back to Vegas. I would just stay up there. But the body language tonight from these guys was horrible. Was horrible. The team looked like they hated each other on the court. Once the Rebels got down early, the offense went to hero ball. Too many guys going one-on-one, taking bad shots over 3 players. The problem is Daryl, is that like teams can just defend the Rebels really easily. It's not hard to defend this team. Yeah, the Rebels are more athletic than Wyoming. Look at Tyron Jones and Kamani and Dre. They have, I think that pound for pound, they have better athletes than Wyoming. What they don't have is a philosophy that guides them as a team, and Wyoming absolutely cooked them tonight because of it. But all you have to do, you have the key in the middle of the floor, stick all 5 guys around the key, 1 guy at the top, 2 guys there, and you don't have to guard the wings. You don't have to guard the 3-point line at all. All you have to do is prevent the Rebels from getting into the key and taking shots. And you're going to stop the Rebels from scoring effectively. It's very easy to defend this team. Incredibly easy to defend this team. And they don't have a ball handler to break down the defense. They don't pass very well. They don't move the ball with intention and with that deliberateness that you need to have in order to move a zone around. And it's just very easy to defend this UNLV team. In my opinion, the Rebels should work on fundamentals and not focus so much on aggressive and diving for balls. If you play fundamentally sound, then you don't have to be aggressive and a mess on the floor. All their energy is being used because of chaos. Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually a good point, Brady. I like the diving and stuff. I think it's really great, but if it's not backed up by, basic fundamentals, because diving for loose balls is not a fundamental of basketball. Keeping man in front of you, watching man and ball, bumping your man off his screen, you know, uh, being physical and making sure to lock players when they're coming off screens. I'm being a little loose with the terminology here, but moving after you pass the ball, moving deliberately, cutting with speed and aggression, fundamental closeouts where you keep your feet, where you keep a hand up and you keep your feet down. These are fundamental principles of basketball. Playing with 2 feet on the ground. And the thing is, like, Josh knows all of these things and talks about how important all of these things are, but he's not getting his guys to execute it. He's not. And that's on him, man. And I, frankly, I don't really care about the injuries. I really don't. You have to get your guys to play fundamentally sound basketball. This season could turn out to be the worst one since Menzies' first year when we finished 11-21. It could be. Yeah, it totally could be. And so, guys, I don't want to beat a dead horse too much. But it's really tough right now. It's really tough. I don't have a lot to say. I was angry during the game. A lot of times it's kind of nice when there's a blowout, in a sense that you get to be pissed during the game. And then by the time that the live show comes on, I'm not quite as mad as I was, but Mike says they just have not been able to gel all season. For whatever reason, this unit isn't cohesive or clicking. Yeah, and listen, I get that it's a whole new roster, but college basketball teams around the country are flipping their entire rosters every single year. It's not an excuse for Josh. And I get that he's dealing with injuries. I get it, man. I get it. And did I expect UNLV to contend for the conference regular season championship? No, I didn't. I mean, I thought they could be competitive. I thought they could maybe finish top 5 and make a run in the conference tournament. But I did expect them to play competitive basketball and to be fundamentally sound. And they're not. They're not fundamentally sound. They're not competitive. So, yeah, guys. In terms of I've seen some people say, and I've said this too, that firing Kevin was a mistake. Kevin Kruger had to be fired. His time as UNLV's coach had run its course. He hadn't achieved his goals. He hadn't achieved the goals set for him by the university, and his time had run its course. And look, obviously, knowing what we know now, maybe would we go back and just give Kevin a 5th year as opposed to hamstringing? UNLV got hamstrung by this buyout and by all the money that they're spending on football. Maybe, but at the same time, we have the benefit of hindsight right now. And at the time when Kevin was fired, he had to be fired. So I don't regret firing Kevin Kruger. We had to fire Kevin Kruger. Would I rather have a Kevin Kruger basketball team than this Josh Pastner basketball team? I mean, probably, to be honest. But there's no reason in going back in time and acting, with the benefit of hindsight, like we knew how this was going to go. And as much as I didn't like the Josh Pastner hire, there's no reason in turning on him and trying to burn the program down right now, because we're not going to fire him. So, the goals are to try and, I sound like a broken record, but try and use this Wyoming game as a turning point, try and play hard and competitive and go out and try and steal a game in Fort Collins. I said heading into this week that I wanted to go 1-1. I wanted to win one of these 2 games. That goal is still possible. And this UNLV team has played well. And, perhaps this can be a turning point moment for them. Sometimes teams just lay an egg. And Mike, while I agree that this season doesn't seem like it's going to go where we want it to go, we still have a bunch of games to play. While there's still games to be played ahead, I'm not going to stop watching, or, I'm not going to flip it to next year until it's next year. We have the guys that we have right now. There's still some players on this team that I really like. I don't have a fix for the ball handling and the shooting. I don't think the roster has a fix for the ball handling and shooting issues, but hopefully they can figure something out. And what I would say to Josh is, take a deep breath. Don't try and fix every issue this team has at once. Find one thing that you can get this team to do well and nail it in over the next few weeks. Say defensive rebounding. Just pick one thing. Don't try and fix every problem that this team has at once. Try and nail one thing out at a time. Because if you're trying to fix all the problems, if you're trying to plug all the holes that the Titanic has, you're going to fail. And you're going to end up you're going to end up sinking way faster than if you just focus on one thing that you can do right. I would pick defensive rebounding. I think if this team could focus on its defensive rebounding, I think that they would be a lot better. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you all checking out the show tonight. I'm going to end it there. Not a fun night, really not a fun night, but I love this. I love this team. I love this program. I do, despite how dramatic I can be. You know, I can be pretty ridiculous. But I appreciate you all for sticking with me, and I hope you guys have a great night. And let's run.